You ever wonder what happens when your doctor is in Texas, but you are laying on a couch in Ohio hooked up to a video call? That little detail actually creates a legal maze that would make a raccoon in a dumpster look organized. Here's the wild part. A doctor's license is not a magic passport. It only works in the state that gave it to them. Kind of like how your gym membership does not work at a different gym across town. So, when a telemedicine doctor licensed in Texas treats you while you're sitting in Ohio, the question becomes which state's rules actually apply if something goes wrong. Spoiler alert, it is usually the state where you, the patient, are physically located when the appointment happens. That means the doctor needs to be licensed in your state too, not just their own, or they could be practicing medicine without a license and nobody wants that kind of plot twist. Many states have compact agreements that speed this up, but it is not automatic everywhere, so gaps absolutely exist. Now let us talk about standard of care, which is basically the rule book for what a reasonable doctor should have done in your situation. The tricky part is that standard of care can shift slightly from state to state, so a treatment considered normal in one place might be considered sloppy in another. Picture two chefs making chili, one in Texas and one in Ohio, both using the term chili, but their grandma's recipes are wildly different. Medicine works kind of the same way, with regional norms and guidelines that are not always identical from state to state. This gets even messier with telemedicine because the doctor never physically examines you. They are working off a screen, your words, and maybe a webcam angle that makes you look like a potato. If they miss something because the exam was limited, jurisdiction determines which state's courts even get to hear that argument. Generally speaking, lawsuits get filed in the state where the patient received the care, because that is where the harm technically happened. But defense attorneys sometimes argue for the doctor's home state instead, since rules can be more favorable there depending on caps on damages or filing deadlines. This is where accident injury lawyers become less like courtroom dramatists and more like detectives, piecing together licensing records, video call logs, and communication timestamps. They are figuring out exactly where you were sitting, where the doctor was sitting, and which state's medical board actually has authority here. A big misunderstanding people have is assuming telemedicine removes liability because nobody touched you physically. That is like saying a text message cannot start an argument. Oh, it absolutely can, and the law treats virtual care with the same seriousness as an in-person visit. Another myth floating around is that state lines do not matter online because the internet feels borderless. In reality, medical licensing boards care very much about borders, almost like overly protective parents at a school dance. Data shows telemedicine usage exploded after 2020, jumping from a small percentage of visits to becoming a mainstream option almost overnight. With that boom came a wave of new legal questions that state legislatures are still scrambling to catch up on, kind of like trying to build the airplane while it is already flying. The lesson here is not to panic about telemedicine. It is incredibly convenient and often genuinely helpful. The lesson is to know that if something goes wrong, where you were sitting during that appointment can dramatically shape your legal options. If you ever find yourself dealing with a bad outcome from a virtual doctor visit, do not just shrug it off as unlucky. Get the appointment details, the doctor's licensing state, and a timeline written down fast. Preparation and clear thinking now can save you a massive headache later if you ever need to prove exactly what happened and where. So if any of this got you curious about how accident injury law actually works behind the scenes, you want to learn more about our company? Check out our links in the description.